You ever build something so perfect, so picture perfect, that even your neighbors envy it? That was my life, or so I thought. I'm Matt Reynolds, and for the longest time, I genuinely believed I had it all. A great career working as a software developer mostly from home, a beautiful house in the suburbs of Boston with a neatly trimmed yard and friendly neighbors, and a wife who looked like she belonged on the cover of a magazine. Her name was Emily. Emily Reynolds. Blonde hair that cascaded in effortless waves, a smile that could turn any bad day around, and a laugh so infectious it echoed in your soul. She was more than just attractive. She had a glow, a kind of charm that drew people in. Her interior design blog on Instagram had blown up. Brands chased her for collabs, and event invites piled up in her inbox. Online, we were the golden couple, successful, stylish, and supposedly in love. But something started to change. At first, it was subtle. She got quieter, distant. The woman who used to light up when I walked through the door now barely looked up from her phone. Our conversations grew shorter, emptier. I'd ask how her day went and she'd toss back a vague, "just busy with stuff," barely looking away from her screen. She stopped sharing the little things. No more updates about new brand deals or client meetings. I told myself I was imagining it. That maybe she was just overwhelmed. But deep down, I could feel it, that gnawing pit in your gut when you know something isn't right. The biggest red flag? Her phone. Emily never used to be one of those people glued to their screen. Now it was like an extension of her hand. She'd angle it away from me when I walked by. I'd catch her smiling at texts, laughing softly, only for her expression to flatten the moment I looked over. One night, we were in bed and I saw her typing away, grinning like a teenager. "Who's that?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She barely paused before saying, "Just Rachel. Her best friend." But her voice wavered. I knew she was lying. I didn't have proof, but my instincts screamed it. Then came the bank statements. I hadn't checked them in months. We trusted each other. Or at least, I trusted her. But that Sunday afternoon, something told me to look. My heart sank. Spa visits, hundreds of dollars. Fancy restaurants I'd never heard of. A $450 charge at a boutique hotel downtown. We hadn't been to any of these places together. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was business-related, or she was treating herself. But I couldn't lie to myself anymore. The final push came from, of all people, our neighbor. Mrs. Walker, sweet older lady who always waved when I mowed the lawn. That day, she waved me over like she always did, offering her usual friendly smile. "Saw Emily at that little cafe on Main," she said. She looked radiant, as always. And that young man she was with, oh goodness, I can't recall his name, but he was quite handsome. I stood there nodding, smiling like a fool while my insides twisted. I told myself maybe it was a client. Maybe it was nothing. But I knew. I just knew. That night, I sat in my home office pretending to work, staring blankly at the screen. Emily was out. Another networking event. Yeah, right. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I needed to know. I needed to see it with my own eyes. And once I did, I'd make damn sure she regretted every second of it. I'm not the kind of guy who makes wild accusations without solid proof. Maybe it's the programmer in me. I like patterns, logic, facts. So that night, after Emily left for yet another client dinner, I sat down at my desk, pulled up my laptop, and started digging. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was looking for the truth. Years ago, when we got married, I'd set up a shared iCloud account. Back then it was just a convenience thing. Sync our calendars, back up photos, the usual stuff. I doubt Emily even remembered. But I did. At first, most of her recent uploads were the same as always. Shots of perfectly arranged living rooms, color-coordinated throw pillows, aesthetic kitchen counters. But as I clicked deeper, a few photos stood out. Ones taken in unfamiliar places, hotel rooms I didn't recognize, angles that weren't from our home, mirrors with unfamiliar backgrounds. And then I saw it. A photo that nearly stopped my heart. It was a mirror selfie Emily had clearly taken for Instagram, meant to show off a new outfit. But in the reflection, just barely visible, was a man. Shirtless. His body blurred in the background, but there was no mistaking it. She wasn't alone. That was the moment it all clicked into place. I moved on to her Google Calendar. Emily had always been religious about logging her events, brunches with clients, Zoom calls, product launches. But when I cross-checked the calendar with the nights she came home late, things didn't add up. Client dinner at Le Jardin one night, a place that closes by 10 p.m., yet she got home close to midnight. Another entry said, design showcase, on a Friday night where there wasn't a single industry event in town. All of it, lies dressed up to look legitimate. Then I went back to the bank statements. This time, I wasn't just glancing. I combed through every charge. A $450 charge at the Monarch Hotel. A $600 bill from a spa in Cambridge. And $320 on a bottle of Dom Perignon. We don't even drink champagne. My hands were shaking, but I kept going. There had to be more. Emily wasn't stupid, but she wasn't exactly tech-savvy either. She thought deleting her texts would cover her tracks. What she didn't realize was that her iMessages were being backed up. And that's where I found them. Can't wait to see you tonight. Last night was amazing. I still feel you on my skin. I'll tell Matt I'm at a client dinner. He won't ask. I stared at those words for what felt like hours. My stomach twisted. My head was spinning. The messages were from someone named Brian W. At first, the name didn't ring a bell. Then it hit me. Brian Welsh. The personal trainer she hired 6 months ago. The guy who came to our house for that consultation shook my hand with that smug confidence and left me with an uneasy feeling I couldn't explain. That guy. Tall, jacked, charming, and now, apparently, the guy sleeping with my wife. But even then, I didn't explode. I didn't rage. I just sat there, breathing slow, letting it all settle in. The betrayal was real. But I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. No, I was going to be smart. I was going to be thorough. And when I had everything, every ounce of proof, every receipt, every video, I would burn her perfect little world to the ground. Friday rolled around, and I knew it was time. By then I had all the pieces in place, cameras tucked in discreet corners, each one streaming live to my phone. Bedroom, hallway, bathroom, living room. Every angle was covered. But I still needed to give her the push. A believable opportunity. So that afternoon, as we both sat on the couch and pretended like things were normal, I casually said, I'm heading out tonight. Jason's got a poker night going, and the guys want to hit that new bar downtown after. Emily looked up from her phone, smiling in a way that almost felt relieved. Sounds fun, she said, almost too quickly. You need a break. I forced a smile, grabbed my jacket, and walked out like it was any other Friday. Except I didn't go far. I parked my car 2 streets over, tucked out of sight behind a row of tall hedges. From there, I pulled up the camera feeds on my phone and waited in the dark. It didn't take long. Just after 7 p.m., she came home. Alone, at first. She kicked off her shoes, fixed her hair in the mirror, checked her phone. 10 minutes later, he showed up. Brian. Same smug grin. Same arrogant swagger like he belonged there. He kissed her at the door, and she melted into him like it was some kind of movie scene. They poured wine in the kitchen, touched each other like no one could see, but I saw everything. They headed to the living room, talking low, laughing, getting cozy on the couch. Then she took him by the hand and led him upstairs. Our bedroom. I watched through the feed, my heart pounding in my ears but my face still calm. She let her robe slip off. He pulled off his shirt. They crawled into bed, my bed, like it was nothing. I felt the rage in my chest tighten, but I stayed still. Focused. I needed her to believe she was safe. And she did. Right until the moment I opened the front door. I didn't sneak in. I didn't tiptoe. I wanted her to hear it. I wanted her to feel that dread punch her in the stomach the second the door clicked shut. I heard it through the audio feed, her gasp, followed by a frantic whisper. She jumped out of bed, panic in her voice. Shit, he's home. I heard the door. Brian was mid-motion, frozen, confused. What do I do? She looked around like a trapped animal, breathing hard. Then pointed to the bathroom. Get in the tub. Go now. Brian scrambled, grabbing his clothes in a panic and darting toward the master bathroom. I watched as he ducked behind the shower curtain, trying to make himself disappear. Meanwhile, Emily threw her robe back on, sprayed half a bottle of air freshener like that would erase what just happened, and bolted downstairs. I took my time climbing those stairs. Every step echoed louder than the last. "Hey, babe," she called out, breathless but trying to sound casual. That was fast. I stared at her from the hallway. Yeah, bar was packed. Not really feeling it. Her eyes widened just slightly. Oh. Well, I was just watching a show upstairs. My gaze drifted behind her, to the closed bathroom door. "You okay?" I asked, tilting my head. "You look a little flustered." "Oh, just warm," she said with a laugh that didn't quite land. "I was gonna run a bath, actually." I nodded, taking a step forward. "Perfect. I'll join you." Her smile vanished. I stood just outside the bathroom door, my hand on the handle, and watched her face crumble 1 second at a time. "Wait, babe," she stammered, stepping in front of me, that fake smile trembling. I was actually thinking I could run the bath for you. Light some candles, make it relaxing." Too late. I gave her a calm, unreadable look, the same look I give my screen when I'm debugging code that refuses to run. Cold. Focused. Detached. "Nah," I said, brushing past her. "I'll handle it." Her hand reached for my arm, but I'd already turned the knob. And there he was. Brian. Naked, crouched like some overgrown toddler in our damn bathtub, wide-eyed, knees hugged to his chest, clothes clutched in his lap like they might make him invisible. His face was a mix of horror and humiliation. For a second, everything went quiet. No one said a word. Not even him. He just blinked up at me like a deer in headlights, like maybe I'd close the door and pretend I didn't see him. "Hey, man," he finally muttered, voice barely above a whisper. I stared at him, then slowly turned to Emily, who stood frozen in the doorway. Her mouth opened, then closed again. No words. Just panic and regret all over her face. I turned back to Brian. "Comfortable in there?" He swallowed. "Look, this isn't what it looks like." I raised an eyebrow. "Really?" "Because it looks exactly like what it looks like." Emily stepped forward, her voice cracking. "Matt, I can explain." "Save it." My voice was flat. Not yelling. Not raging. Just dead calm, the kind of calm that makes people nervous. I turned back to the bathtub. Brian was still trying to come up with a way out of this. Literally and figuratively. "I hope you're good at holding your breath," I said, twisting the cold water knob on the faucet. The tub began to fill. "Matt." Emily gasped, rushing toward me. I didn't even look at her. Relax. Just giving him a taste of what it's like to be in over his head. Brian's breathing turned erratic. "Okay, man, okay. I'll leave." He tried scrambling out, water now lapping at his legs, but I just stepped back, arms folded. "A little late for that, don't you think?" Emily was near tears now, trying to pull me aside, talking fast, pleading. "Matt, please. Don't do this. I messed up, okay? I know I did, but can we talk?" For the first time, I really looked at her. Her hair was still a little tousled from the bed. Her robe was slipping. Her voice was shaky. But it was her eyes that got me, filled with the kind of desperation you only see when someone realizes they've just lost everything. "We'll talk," I said quietly. "But not tonight." Then I walked out. Left her standing there with a soaked, humiliated Brian shivering in the tub and the scent of cheap perfume and betrayal hanging in the air. I didn't slam any doors. Didn't scream. Just got in my car, pulled around the block, and drove. I didn't know where I was going yet, but I knew one thing for sure. That chapter of my life? It was done. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even try. I just drove around the city until the sky started to lighten, watching the empty streets roll by while my phone buzzed with missed calls and voicemails, all from Emily. She didn't know how much I'd seen. She probably thought she could cry, spin some story, beg her way out of it. But this wasn't about emotions anymore. This wasn't about working things out. This was war. And I was done playing defense. The first thing I did that morning was call a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, a pit bull who specialized in divorce cases involving infidelity. Guy came recommended by a colleague who'd gone through something similar. "I want this airtight," I told him. "It will be," he said. "Do you have proof?" I emailed everything, the videos, the texts, the financial records. He barely needed to say anything after that. "She's done," he said. "We'll take her for everything." Good. After that, I went to work, not to drown myself in code or bury my feelings. No, this was tactical. I used my lunch break to open a new bank account in my name only. Over the next few days, I moved every dollar I legally could out of our joint account. I wasn't leaving her with a safety net. Not after what she did. At home, I kept up the act, for now. Emily was shaken. Scared. She barely said 2 words around me, and when she did, her voice was small and unsure. "Can we talk?" she'd ask. "Not now," I'd say with a soft smile that never touched my eyes. Let her twist. Let her wonder what I was planning. And while she thought maybe, just maybe, I might forgive her, I was setting up the next stage. Emily's entire identity was built around her image. Her Instagram following. Her brand deals. Her curated online life as this happy, stylish wife with a perfect home and an adoring husband. So I used that against her. A week later, I suggested we host a dinner party. Just close friends, I said. Colleagues. People who hadn't been over in a while. She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "A dinner party? Why not?" I said, shrugging. "It'll help us reset." Her eyes narrowed with suspicion. But hope was a hell of a drug, and she wanted to believe I was trying to move past what happened. So she said yes. She went all out. Decorations, catering, fancy wine, the works. She posted teasers on her Instagram story, talking about how blessed she was to be with someone who was so understanding. Disgusting. That night, the house looked immaculate. The table was glowing with candles and fine dinnerware. Guests arrived. Drinks flowed. Emily smiled and played the perfect hostess, as if nothing in her life was falling apart. She had no idea I had one more surprise. When dessert was served and everyone was seated, I stood up and clinked my glass with my fork. "Can I get everyone's attention real quick?" I asked, smiling wide. Everyone turned to me. Emily looked at me, too, her face glowing, totally unaware. "I just want to take a moment to thank Emily," I said, looking directly at her. "She's worked so hard to put this night together, and she's really been unforgettable." A few polite laughs. Then I turned toward the projector we'd set up earlier for photos. "But there's something else I want to share." Emily's smile faded. "Matt," she said, her voice dropping, "what are you doing?" I picked up the remote and pressed play. The screen behind me flickered to life. At first, people were confused. The footage wasn't dramatic, not what you'd expect in some salacious scandal. No, this was subtle. Quiet. But damning all the same. Clips of her calendar entries, carefully logged meetings that never existed. Hotel charges on dates she told me she was home late from client dinners. Footage from inside our house, showing her coming back in the early hours, alone but clearly not innocent, smiling at her phone, fixing her hair in the mirror, setting the scene before I got home. Screenshots of the cloud-synced messages she thought she'd deleted. Sweet nothings sent to someone unnamed, someone he doesn't need to know about. It was cold. Sterile. No need for drama when the facts were enough to tear a person apart. The silence in the room was absolute. Emily stood frozen, her fork halfway to her mouth, her face pale and crumbling by the second. "Matt," she whispered, barely audible. "What is this?" "It's the truth," I said calmly. "Something this house hasn't had much of in a while." No one spoke. You could feel the air thicken. Eyes shifted. Someone coughed awkwardly. Her friends avoided her gaze. Her brand partners, the ones who'd come to network, to collaborate, stared at the screen with tight lips and crossed arms. She tried to speak. This isn't fair. You're twisting." "No," I interrupted. "I'm finally untwisting everything." I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to insult her. The facts had already done the work. After a few painful seconds, I set the remote down. "You all came here tonight for a dinner party," I said to the room. "But I thought it was time we stopped pretending." And with that, I walked out. Left her standing in the middle of her perfect little table setting, surrounded by the ruins of her reputation. By the next day, it was all over. The video, edited just enough to protect my privacy, but not hers, leaked online. Someone filmed it from their phone, and it spread faster than either of us expected. Her follower count dropped like a rock. Sponsors disappeared. Brands pulled out. Comment sections turned against her like wolves, not because of one mistake, but because of months, maybe years, of deception masked behind hashtags and airbrushed smiles. She tried to post an apology. It flopped. She tried to pivot her content. No one cared. Eventually, she just went silent. As for me, I moved out 2 weeks later. The divorce papers were ready. The bank accounts had been separated long before she even realized what was happening. She didn't fight. She couldn't. I had the receipts. Literally. I walked away with everything. The house. The accounts. The peace. And her. She was left with her lies, her silence, and the echo of what she used to be. I didn't block her number. I let her text me. Let her voicemail box fill with apologies, sobs, and desperate lines like, "I just want to talk," and "I didn't mean for it to go this far." But I never replied. That silence she gave me for so long, when she smiled at her phone instead of looking at me, when she lied to my face about where she was, now she gets to live in it, alone. These days, I wake up in a place that doesn't feel like a stage. I make coffee, step out onto my small balcony, and breathe without checking my phone for excuses or pretending not to notice the truth. I met someone recently. Nothing serious, not yet. But it's real. Simple. Honest. And that's more than enough for now. I'm not bitter. I'm just free. And she's left with the one thing she spent so long trying to avoid. Being exposed. Thank you for visited my YouTube channel. Your support, likes, and comments truly inspire me to create even more engaging content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You're a part of this amazing community, and I'm thrilled to share my stories with you. See you in the next video on YouTube.